Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. It's a pleasure to be here today, of course, with our minister, with all our colleagues, and with all of you. Canadian industry is the backbone of our economy, and today we're here to strengthen that backbone. Indeed. Over the past few weeks, we've traveled the country meeting our workers and our industries. And people understand that we're living in a much more unpredictable and dangerous world. There are things we cannot control, but there are lots of things that we can control. What we heard is this. First, a call for more support. Second, a pride to keep building Canada strong. And third, a shared determination on that mission. The global trade landscape is shifting, and Canada must meet the moment. Our government is building a more resilient, a more independent economy, one that puts Canadian workers and industries first. Aujourd'hui, nous investissons dans nos travailleurs et nos industries. On investit dans les gens de chez nous et dans nos entreprises. Les gens veulent qu'on agisse et c'est exactement ce qu'on fait. On le fait parce que c'est bon pour notre économie et c'est bon pour le Canada. We're doing this not only to protect our economy now, but also to make sure that we're thinking ahead and we're acting for the long term. And together, we're laying the foundation for Canada's prosperity wherever region of this country can grow, succeed, and lead. And with now, it is my pleasure to present you the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Minister Joly. Bonjour tout le monde. It is a great pleasure to be here at Mitsubishi Heavy. I just want to say a word before I get started about what an incredible company this is. Luke, thank you for welcoming us here because this is a company that is connected across Canada and is connected around the world. I lived in Japan 35 years ago now. Oh, am I 60? Yes, I am 60. And we're a leading company then, leading company now. And it's a signal of the importance of companies like this, a signal of the importance of the issue we're going to talk about today. I'm joined today by Cabinet colleagues, Minister Joly, Minister Champagne, Mr. MacDonald, Mr. Hyju, Mr. De Bruzen, Mr. Lightbound, and Secretary of State Zaracelli. I'm joined by the Peel Caucus. You are joined by the Government of Canada. We have just come from 2 days of our federal cabinet convening in North York, and we spent those days with a clear focus on delivering our overarching mission in this time of crisis. Our overarching mission is to build Canada's economic strength in face of unprecedented change. Now, here at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, we're surrounded by examples of that strength. State-of-the-art manufacturing, state-of-the-art assembly expertise, Canadian skill and ingenuity, a supply chain that makes heavy use of Canadian materials such as Quebec aluminum. And workers in this facility are building more than aircraft. They are building a stronger future for their families and for our country. Alors que le nouveau gouvernement du Canada regarde vers l'avenir, nous restons concentrés sur une priorité. Donner à nos travailleurs les moyens de le saisir. Doubler le rythme de construction de logements au cours de la prochaine décennie. Accélérer les grands projets d'intérêt national. Mettre en place une nouvelle stratégie industrielle de défense en reconstruisant, en rearmant et réinvestissant dans nos forces armées. Et garder le cap sur 3 objectifs clairs. Protéger nos communautés, sécuriser nos frontières et réduire le coût de la vie. The world is changing rapidly. The largest economy, the United States, is fundamentally reshaping all of its trading relationships. And we're moving from an age that lasted decades, an age when free trade was a motor of global economic growth, to a new age, an age of economic nationalism and mercantilism. You know, the U.S. tariff rate is now the highest it has been since the Great Depression in the 1930s. And these tariffs are being applied to all countries on nearly all goods. And the changes in U.S. policy go beyond tariffs. Countries now must, in effect, buy access to the world's largest economy through investments, through unilateral trade liberalization, and policy changes in their home markets. And all the while, the transformation of global trade is occurring against a backdrop of wider economic disruptions, of geopolitical realignment, of AI and other technological transformations, and the necessity, the imperative of a shift to a greener economy. What's going on is not a transition. It's a rupture, and its effect will be profound. Workers displaced from their jobs. Supply chains that have existed for decades disrupted. Companies forced to change where they find their materials and their products. And all of this is causing an extreme uncertainty that's holding back massive amounts of investment and, as a consequence, slowing economic growth. Just this morning, we see the impact in today's employment report in Canada, with unemployment rising across regions and sectors. This makes decisive action crucial. To be clear, we're in a position right now where Canada currently has the best trading deal with the United States of any of their trading partners. 85% of our trade with the U.S. is now tariff-free. We have the lowest tariff rate of any country in the world. But we also know that given all those changes, given the rupture, we can't rely on our most important trading partner as we once did. Le libre-échange, depuis longtemps, est un pilier de l'économie canadienne. Pendant des décennies, notre participation croissante au marché américain a constitué l'un des fondements de notre force économique. Le commerce représente près de 2/3 du produit intérieur brut du Canada. Des secteurs comme l'automobile, l'acier et l'aluminium envoient plus de 90% de leurs exportations vers les États-Unis et, dans bien des cas, les chaînes d'approvisionnement sont interdépendantes. Ces secteurs sont essentiels pour notre économie en raison de l'ampleur de leur production, des carrières qu'ils génèrent et les collectivités qu'ils soutiennent. Ce qui était autrefois une des plus grandes forces du Canada est aujourd'hui devenu une vulnerabilité. So our relationship with the United States, so essential for so many industries, was once one of our greatest strengths, and in many cases, in certain sectors, has become a vulnerability. This disruption calls for a bold new approach. And given, as Minister Joly said, given that we can't control what other nations do, Canada's government is focused on what we can control. And that means building our strength at home, building Canada strong. That means giving our workers and our companies the tools they need, retraining our workers, transforming our strategic sectors, creating entirely new industries, and being our own best customer by buying Canadian. And to these ends, our new government is embarking on an ambitious plan to secure a new era of prosperity out of this age of adversity. Our new industrial strategy will help transform our economy from being overly reliant on the United States to one that is more resilient to global shocks. A new economy that's built on the solid foundation of Canadian industries, Canadian workers, and it's bolstered by diverse international trading partners. To drive this transformation, we've just launched the Major Projects Office. Its job is to fast-track major nation-building projects. Shortly, we will launch Build Canada Homes, just later this month. And that's a new government entity that will help double the pace of housing construction over the next decade, while creating a new housing industry using Canadian technology, Canadian workers, and Canadian lumber. This fall, we will unveil a new defense industrial strategy so that our defense estimates, which will be enormous, our defense investments support the growth of Canadian industries and create Canadian jobs and careers. We'll begin this month our negotiations of a new defense and security partnership with the European Union, and we launched a new trade diversification strategy to develop new export markets. We will soon also release our climate competitiveness strategy to position Canada as a leader in decarbonization. As Canada's new government embarks on these missions, we will work to ensure Canadian businesses and workers have the tools that they need to help drive this transformation. Let me be clear. If we want our economy to grow, and we do, with thriving careers at home and booming exports around the world, we must once again become a country that builds big and builds fast. Because, as Minister Valdez knows, entrepreneurs, builders, dreamers power our economy. They are the engines of growth. And the strategic industries that are being so heavily impacted by U.S. tariffs, steel, lumber, aluminum, copper, our resource sectors, these are the industries that build Canada. And they will be central to our future competitiveness in a world of major infrastructure investment, defense and security, and that unprecedented acceleration in home building. And the government's role right now, in fact, the government's duty right now, is to make sure that our builders have what they need to succeed, so that they have greater certainty about the scale of the opportunities. Because when our builders, our entrepreneurs face calculated risks rather than unknowable uncertainty, that's when Canadian builders and innovators thrive. That's when the whole country rises with them, with higher wages, lower costs, and a stronger economy. So today, to fortify our economic strength, my colleagues and I are announcing a series of ambitious new measures to protect, build, and transform our strategic industries. These are the sectors where workers and businesses have been impacted by those tariffs and trade disruptions. And we're building on our recent initiatives to help transform Canada's steel and lumber sectors. The measures today will help workers acquire the skills and businesses to retool their production, businesses to diversify their products and markets, and, crucially, spurring more demand right here at home for Canadian businesses. The first and foremost, the foundation, is Canadian workers. And we're going to support Canadian workers so they can drive Canada's economic transformation with new skills training and help them seize the exciting high-paying careers that transformation will create. To build a strong, confident workforce, that will help propel our economy forward. The government is introducing a new robust reskilling package to train 50,000 workers. This package will include new methods such as employer-based training and targeted outreach to workers. We will automatically enroll new employment insurance claimants to our new jobs matching program and introduce a new platform with a skills to job tool to make job searches easier and match people more quickly to new jobs, connect them to training opportunities and career counseling. We'll leverage digital technologies and artificial intelligence to help working Canadians find training courses, supported by partnerships with companies such as Indeed, Jubilico, Career Beacon, ZipRecruiter, and eCampus Ontario. We'll also launch new sector alliances across industries, unions, and governments to coordinate recruiting and retraining efforts. And finally, we'll adapt employment insurance to provide a bridge to laid-off workers, giving them the time they will need to pivot. This will include providing long-tenured workers with up to 65 weeks of benefits. That's 20 more weeks than they have access to today. And we'll waive the one-week waiting period for over 700,000 claimants. The second major initiative that we're announcing today is a new $5 billion strategic response fund to help Canadian businesses adapt, diversify, and build that new economy. This fund has three core objectives. First, to help businesses pivot to new products and markets. Secondly, to retrain and retain skills and production here in Canada. And thirdly, to make our businesses globally competitive. So businesses can use these funds to invest in the design of new products, to retool their plants to boost productivity, or to offset the costs of accessing new markets. And the fund will be open to all sectors, given the fact that the tariff impacts are wide-ranging across Canadian industries. La priorité sera accordée aux projets issus des secteurs les plus touchés par les tarifs, comme l'acier, l'aluminium, l'automobile et le bois d'œuvre. Les fonds de réponse stratégique travaillera en étroite collaboration avec nos nouvelles alliances sectorielles pour s'assurer que ces projets d'investissement ne soient pas freinés par les défis du marché du travail. Grâce à une meilleure corrélation des travailleurs et l'industrie, nous pourrons former efficacement et jumeler les travailleurs aux nouveaux emplois dans les secteurs de demain. The third major thing we're announcing today is a comprehensive Buy Canadian policy. We are on a mission to build Canada strong through major infrastructure projects, through that modern defense industry, and by building millions of more homes. In that mission, the public sector can serve as an anchor customer for Canadian businesses. But for that to happen, a lot of things must change. At present, Canada's public procurement is following outdated rules of that old free trade order that no longer exists. For years, we've been buying as a government significantly from foreign suppliers for short-term gain. Now we need to use government procurement using Canadian taxpayer dollars to spur Canadian businesses for longer-term prosperity. To support Canadian industries, the government's introducing a new comprehensive Buy Canadian policy that will move from best efforts to buy Canadian to a clear obligation to do so. And when Canadian suppliers are truly unavailable, will require local content and purchases from trusted partners. And these cases will be the exception, not the norm. They'll have to be approved by ministers. We'll apply this approach beyond a narrow definition of the federal government to all federal agencies and all federal crown corporations. leveraging every dollar the federal government spends and invests. And finally, we're going to cut out red tape and simplify access for businesses to those federal procurement opportunities. This is an approach that can also help serve as a roadmap that could be adopted by provinces, territories, and municipalities. Le Canada est une fière défenseur des accords de libre-échange. Nous les respecterons et continuerons de les renforcer avec des partenaires fiables. En parallèle, nous devons mettre davantage à profit nos propres os. Dans l'Union européenne, les 3/4 de l'acier qu'on utilise sont produits sur place. Le Canada, en revanche, exporte souvent près de 60% de ses matières premières et importe ensuite les produits finis. With these changes in procurement, we will build more with Canadian steel, Canadian lumber, Canadian technology, Canadian workers. We will build big, build bold, build Canadian. Now, I said a moment ago when I started that this is a rupture. It's a big change that's being forced on us in a short period of time. So we need to provide immediate liquidity relief to businesses. There's immense change in a short period of time, and businesses that have relied most heavily on the trade with the United States, such as the auto sector, will need temporary immediate relief from liquidity pressures. Businesses need time to reposition themselves for the future. And for small and medium-sized businesses, the Business Development Bank of Canada will increase loans, the maximum loan size to help with this, from $2 to $5 million. For largest businesses and larger businesses, the Large Enterprise Tariff Loan Facility will provide flexible financing at scale with lower interest rates and longer maturities. We're going to implement these changes immediately to ensure that our businesses can bridge the gap to the future. And it's not all about money. Some of it is about regulation. So to add flexibility to the automotive sector, we will remove the 2026 electric vehicle availability standard, which specifies the share of new vehicle sales that must be electric next year. This will provide immediate financial relief to automakers at a time of increased pressure on their competitiveness. And the government will begin immediately a 60-day review of the EV standard to identify future flexibilities and ways to reduce costs. And we'll advance new options to bring more affordable electric vehicles to Canadians. And fifth, we're announcing today that we're acting to protect Canada's agriculture and seafood industries. I'm going to focus on Canadian canola, which has been hit with Chinese tariffs. Also Canadian beef that's been subjected to unjustified trade action since 2021. Canadian lobster since March of this year. To strengthen these sectors, Canada's government will introduce a new biofuel production incentive, providing more than $370 million to assist domestic producers and help them restructure their value chains. We will make targeted amendments to the clean fuel regulations to spur the development of a vibrant biofuels industry in Canada. And we'll increase the loan limits for Canadian canola producers to $500,000 and invest in agri-marketing and trade diversification measures to support our entire agriculture and seafood sectors. En mars, notre gouvernement a annoncé une initiative régionale de réponse tarifaire pour les petites et moyennes entreprises touchées par les tarifs américains. L'objectif était clair: stimuler l'investissement, mettre de nouveaux produits sur le marché et adopter des technologies novatrices. Aujourd'hui, nous allons plus loin. Nous élargissons ce programme en faisant passer le financement de 450 millions à 1 milliard de dollars. Prolongeons les délais de remboursement jusqu'à 9 ans et offrons de nouvelles contributions non
remboursable jusqu'à $1 million en tous les secteurs, y compris l'agriculture et les produits de mer. Parce que l'économie canadienne repose sur les petites et moyennes entreprises. Et si nous voulons bâtir l'économie de demain, elles devront investir maintenant. The mission that is guiding Canada's new government, the North Star that we follow, is building lasting economic strength for Canadian workers and their families. With economic uncertainty making it challenging for the private sector to invest, government must act. As Minister Joly said, government is meeting this moment with the most comprehensive suite of trade resilient measures in Canadian history. We're building these measures around 5 principles. A focus on the future to ensure that workers and businesses have the tools they need to pivot to new opportunities. Secondly, we're making sure the application is widespread. The programs are broad in scope because of the scale and breadth of the disruption in trade. Third, we're making sure they're flexible so they can be adapted to changing circumstances. Fourth, making sure they're accessible, making it simple to access them, keeping red tape at a minimum. And finally, they're cooperative. Provinces and territories will have important roles to play, and this national effort requires cost sharing and collaboration across all levels of government. Ces nouvelles mesures donneront à nos industries et à nos travailleurs les outils nécessaires pour bâtir une économie plus solide, un avenir où l'économie du Canada dépendra moins d'un seul partenaire commercial et reposera sur des bases solides. Un marché canadien fort, une demande canadienne vigoureuse et des partenaires commerciaux diversifiés. Now, to conclude, we look back over our country's history. We've always turned challenges into opportunities. Canadians built the transcontinental railway to open new markets for wheat and timber. We retooled entire sectors of this economy in the fight during the Second World War. And then we built hundreds of thousands of new homes in record time for returning heroes and their families. We built a new seaway to unlock the potential of the Great Lakes economy. We forged new trade links for steel and lumber when old markets closed. And now, at this moment of profound change, we bear the same responsibilities, and we should have the same ambitions as those who became before us. Our ambition is to build the strongest economy in the G7. We know we need to act now, invest now, precisely when it's hard. And that's why we're charting an economic strategy to move our country forward, from reliance to resilience, from uncertainty to prosperity. En appuyant nos travailleurs, nos entreprises et nos industries, nous bâtirons un Canada fort. We will build Canada strong with your support. Thank you very much. Merci.